Good evening, folks, and welcome to our latest podcast from the Maid of Stone team. This comes at the end of the 2024 festival. Everybody's had time to rest, relax, recuperate, get over whatever illnesses they may have, whether it be hangover, insect bites. I'll come on to that one later. Trips to the vet to have the insect bites dealt with. I'll come on that one later as well. But in addition to our usual presenters, myself, Chris, and Pete, we're joined as well by Ollie and Hannah, who are going to give us a little bit of insight into what they saw, did, and experienced at the festival as well, both from a workers, performers, and liaison perspective. So, folks, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on what is, I think, our fifth of these now. So we want one more, and we'll go global.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Let's kick off with the usual sort of thing. What did you enjoy? Let's do the good stuff first. Was it a positive weekend for you?
The weather this time, it didn't rain. The heavens didn't just collapse on us all of a sudden like it did last year. That was a nice surprise.
I have to say, for me, the most enjoyable thing was to see Mr. Malley up on stage preaching the word.
Which word was this?
The good book, sir. You were quoting.
Listen, that's on Saturday morning. I got a message from Chantel McGregor saying, "Have you got the Bible?" to introduce me, and I had to test. All right. So then I thought, I'll get the Prince Andrew book. So I went down to Maid of Stone, and it was a charity shop. So I bought a Bible from Waterstones because I kind of feel bad buying a Bible from a charity shop. But then I bought the Prince Harry book from a charity shop. And I said to the guy down the shop, have you got the Prince Harry book? And I must have said Andrew. And he came down from Stoke. He said, "I'm really sorry, I haven't got the Prince Andrew book," which I found really funny. And he said, "Well, I've got the Prince Harry book." So I bought it for like £2. Then I said, "It's really embarrassing. I'm just going to go to Love Honey." And there was Ann Summers, isn't it? I want to go on Ann Summers and get a bag, so I'm not embarrassed. And he didn't find it funny at all. But yeah, thank you. It's religious. It was Sunday, and it was important. I tell you what, I thought the whole weekend was amazing. I went as a punter last year, so my punter's head on, and I thought this year was not because I was kind of on stage, but I wasn't on stage a lot really. It was just, it was the people. It was the people, and Ollie Brown doing a set out of nowhere, which was incredible. But it was people. Really brilliant weekend,
wasn't it just? And before we ask Ollie about that, Chris obviously is one of the organisers of the whole thing. Immensely stressful leading up to it and during the weekend as well, but there must have been something that put a smile on your face.
Yeah, there should have been. It was incredibly stressful. I have to admit, it was way more stressful than last year, unfortunately. And it's kind of sad in a way, because the way that the site is set up, there is what we call a rat run that goes around the kind of outside backstage. You can walk from the kind of top backstage right the way to the top, sort of thing. I just always take the quickest way, which is going right through the arena. So I'm constantly backwards and forwards moving through, and people were just stopping me and catching me all weekend and like shake my hand and say congratulations. And it was lovely, but I was so stressed. I had to kind of like almost like kind of fake it, because I didn't want to show how kind of like, stressed and angry and nervous I was. So I was like, yeah, thanks for coming. I had to go, and people just must have thought I was just miserable the entire time. But I think Sunday when Mr. Big hit the stage, I just came out of backstage. Everyone was backstage having a party and celebrating. I came out, sat in VIP with Louise and Ash, and I had a little bit of food, had some chips and a drink, half a can of lager. That was the only time I could really sort of, the weight kind of came off. And then obviously I watched most of that set and then enjoyed it. But for me, the most rewarding bit's been the feedback afterwards, really, when I've managed to kind of step away from it and then, sort of sit back and see what everyone said. But very mixed emotions on the day. And I kind of feel that being so stressful, when it was kind of lifted, I was just kind of almost like numb to it all. So I hate to start this off with a bit of a downer, but I can't say I was massively, elated But I'm glad it went well.
The event organizer way though, like the weekend is always incredibly stressful. Like it doesn't matter how well it's done before, how well you expect it to go, you're always going to have that like apprehension throughout the weekend until you hit that very last act. And I think, like you say, just sort of getting through and faking it through is the only way through a lot of the time. So I think you did a really good job of just getting through and doing it that way. And you know, people like myself and people that I've worked with for years, they will all say that that is the only way sometimes that you can just get through that weekend, because it's just immense pressure. So I think you did really well to just do that.
I'm really pleased, Chris, because I just thought it was me. I thought, oh my God, I must have done something wrong. No, I'm not joking. You seemed really chubby to me, and every time I saw you, you looked calm. I think I might have said to Adrian, but maybe not. Maybe this is in my head. I'm sure I said to Adrian, Chris is quite calm this weekend. He looks quite chilled.
I was surprisingly chilled, and even when Josie came about these Wicked Rivers, obviously the situation there was the band were very, very upset, as was Josie, because they're very close, and they were so apologetic and so just. I was like, guys, it's absolutely fine. You go and do what you do. And I was just literally, I think by that point, nothing could kind of faze me. And even on the Sunday, when the call came in, I think it was probably about 3:00 that Eric Martin had been in hospital for 10 hours, and it didn't look like he was getting out. I mean, under any of the circumstances, that would have been brown trousers time. But I think I was just at this point where I was just like, okay, that's fine. Right, we can find a solution. I'll talk a bit more about that a little bit later on. But it just, and again, even when I then meet people front of house, I don't let any of that out. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say, oh, there's a good chance the headliner's not going to play, but yeah, thanks for coming. But yeah, I think I was just at that point where I surprised myself how kind I was.
Look, I mean, I suppose as a punter's point of view, it's funny, isn't it? Because I know I wasn't a punter, but I was probably more of a punter than working there. It looked just dead smooth. I know, obviously, there was issues with bands and stuff. Well, it wasn't issues, there was that issue. Can't be helped. But as a punter's point of view, it just looked like, oh, wow, you must have had this in place before. That's what it looked like. And I know that's not the case, but that's what it seemed like. And I know we mentioned it before, but seeing Ollie and Soundcore on that stage, it certainly didn't look like, it looked like, as a neutral's point of view, or a punter's point of view, that this had been pre-planned, because they were so calm, and it didn't look stressful at all. It looked just so professional.
It was, yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that maybe a lot of people don't know is there was a good chance on the Saturday morning that Taiketo weren't going to make it, because two of the band were coming from Europe and they were struggling with this Microsoft outage business. So I'd already spoken with Ollie about kind of jumping in on the Saturday. So, and obviously that didn't work out. Then come the Sunday, I obviously felt bad going back to him again, but we'd already kind of set I guess they'd done the kind of legwork, saying, Ollie, is there any chance the band could be around? And, fortunately, his amazing team were able to pull it together, and it was a very stress-free result. But yeah, I mean, to lose two bands and then potentially lose the singer of your headline band, can't imagine many more things going wrong at a festival. So it is what it is. But with regards to what you were saying, what people see, it's when the team are working non-stop behind the scenes to make sure that the problems don't get seen in front of house. And I think that's the key. It's having that team in place to be able to do that, so that they don't spill over. And
well, you say that, the team in place with a smile on the face. And that's the thing. That's what can be seen, isn't it? It's that whole reflective thing.
But I think in future I will definitely plan to have bands on site. In fact, I did. There were multiple bands that I'd offered to come down, and some did in bits and bobs. I mean, two of Fury were down, but they couldn't stay the weekend. I mean, the boys from Blazers band Absolver, they were planning to stay the weekend, so I would have had bands on site if anything happened. But then they got a gig in Europe, I think, on the Saturday night, and had to fly straight out. So we were just obviously lucky that obviously Ollie was there with a stall, and obviously Sam was there with Sons.
Worst case scenario, Adrian could have done his Magic Mike gig, which people love.
They do. There's a reputation for that in Maid Stone. I mean, to be fair, I'm one of the best ones as well.
I don't know. Magic Mike meets Tim Book Taylor. I reckon it would have went well.
I feel like we just robbed people of opportunity now as well.
But I think, like, having gone through something similar myself where bands pull out last minute, it's always like in your head you go, I don't know how to deal with this. But you always do, because your fight and flight kicks in and you know you have to deal with it. There's no other way. And there's no shortage of like talented bands. So out of like the hundreds that are across the UK, one of them is going to be able to do it. So I think that's where sort of the realistic element in your head comes in and goes, this can be sorted. I just need to stay calm and get through it. And again, you did a great job of doing that and figuring it out, luckily on site. But I think if that wasn't the case, you would have equally found someone who could have, played the show for you as well.
And I think you communicated with it. So I was doing a pee in Witherspoons and it came up on Facebook. And I think when you communicate with the people, the punters, that's the main thing. I think I know on the Phoenix stage I had a slight hiccup, but it was lovely because the audience didn't mind because they felt they were being told. I think it's when people feel that the rules are over their eyes, I think that's when a problem starts. And in this case, it was so transparent. Everybody was really honest. And I think that makes a huge difference.
The comms from what we could see were very good for the crowd. They all seemed to accept that there could be issues. Everybody had seen the news about that cloud strike issue that had affected all the flights and things like that. And people were, I think, prepared for eventualities that might, affect something. But at the end of the day, you pulled it out the bag. I mean, I presume, Ollie, then the reason you were all set for Sunday was because you'd already been asked to potentially cover for Saturday. So you were actually geared up rather than it just being a miracle and you travel with a full band wherever you go.
I mean, it was kind of like that. It was a stressful night, really, because our engineer that was ready for the Saturday, he wasn't available. And our backup engineer wasn't available either. But strangely, a backup engineer who I worked with previously, he was already on site working. So it was so we had to find a 24-hour van rental place to get all the gear, which is in Nottingham, but our mate pulled it together, and Wayne on drums, he picked up all the gear and everything himself, and Sam was stuck on the M25 for 3 hours, so we just turned around.
Ollie was ready to drive home the night before to go and get all the gear if they couldn't get a van rental, but then I gently reminded that there is Hertz 24/7 and you could probably get a van at the last minute.
It was a great call, and it was a great performance. But it was a great call. And like I said, I came down. I was in Witherspoons, and I came downstairs, and there's a lot of people in Witherspoons at the time who had just got the news on Facebook. And like I said, the response wasn't, "Oh, there's a change of band." I think fundamentally the response was, "Oh, good, they've told us straight away." That's that's a shame. That's a shame for these Wicked Rivers, but it's great for Ollie. And it was just there was no sort of bad feeling. And again, I think that we all know festivals that don't communicate to the crowd with bands changing, and I think that's when the problem comes.
And it makes it more comfortable for us as well, because it was, it's big shoes to fill, and you don't want to upset people being the band that's filling in for a band that everyone wants to see. So it was quite intimidating at first, really, with the announcement, because we're just thinking, Rivers guys, we've got such a beautiful community that really support them and want to get behind them. So, to be honest, I was dreading it. When I saw the post go up, I was dreading it. I was kept scrolling through the comments saying, "Oh, people are going to be like, who are these guys? Like, why are they playing?" So it was, but I think because you were so honest with everyone, and it made it so easy for us to take the stage as well, which was wonderful and a lot more exciting, because I think being that transparent so early on gave us a lot more confidence in taking that spot, which was, it's a big shoes to fill for them, really.
And I do think that says quite. Sorry, I do think that says quite a lot about the community in general as well. Like, they understand that things don't always go to plan, and rather than getting angry or disappointed, they just rally round and just help out. They understand that everyone's human and things happen that can't be avoided. And, the only way around that is to deal with it head on and just be supportive. So I think we have a really solid community in the rock world there with that.
Can I just say, when you were on, I missed the first couple of songs because I was doing stage, I was doing something, and I kind of ran down to have a look, and the first thing I saw was the lampshade, and I thought, what an absolute class act. And I thought that's such a... Whose idea was that, Ollie, if you don't mind me asking?
Sam's Hotel, when I went to pick up, I went to get a shower at Sam's. There was an antique shop right next to his hotel, so we just went in and we just had to get something because I love the guys; they're wonderful, and it really was a great privilege to take, for them to kind of give us an opportunity as well. So we wanted to kind of have a nod with them.
But the upside of it as well, of course, is the fact that your musical styles aren't a million miles apart from the band you've replaced. It's not like Chris had found some death metal act because they were the only ones available on the day, and this thing that tears a hole in the universe comes on stage. It was the exact right sound on a sunny lunchtime to kickstart the day, wasn't it? Which is perfect.
Yeah, I think because we did a tour, we supported them for a few shows, so we kind of knew what the vibe would be. So there's a nice synergy with it. We had a great run with them as well, so it's nice to be able to kind of pair each other and kind of fill those slots as well.
No, for sure. So who manned the stall then while you guys were, because you were working backstage presumably, Hannah. Ollie's now on stage. Your trades going, well, there's people raiding the stall because there's nobody manning the till.
We just left it wide open, just your little donation box in the middle, like honesty box.
Now we have Mac, who works for ERB. She comes with us to a lot of the stalls and the events now. So she did Grass Pop with me earlier in June, and when I had my eye issue, she totally took over the stall at Grass Pop. So I was like, we can just leave Mac to it, and she'll do a great job. So yeah, she's ace.
And you have to remember, thieves have also got good taste in music, so they'll be at the front watching Ollie.
They were too busy watching the show; they hadn't got time to steal some.
And just here to talk about Maid of Stone, but Grass Pop this year nearly got pulled, didn't it? Is that the one you were at, Hannah? Did you have problems on the first day when the whole thing got cancelled?
Yeah, so we had a 12-hour drive down and we arrived at 7:30 in the morning, and we didn't get sighted at our pitch until after midnight. So we didn't sleep for 40 hours straight. We were about half a foot underwater, but they actually dug trenches and then covered it with like a metal grate and then put stones over it, so it created a pathway, and then all the water drained underneath the pathway and was pumped out. It was really efficient. It was really well done. So yeah, I think we can learn something from the Europeans there when the rain hits.
Yeah, because that was pretty intense on that first day, wasn't it? But they got the whole place up and running in full by day 2, didn't they?
You know what? Yeah, I would no doubt that if it was pouring rain in Maid of Stone, Chris would have sorted it out quicker than that. He already had his trench dug. I saw it.
I'd have just been calling on Hannah and Ollie to get the shovels and dig a trench with me. But no, I think we spoke about it one podcast before. I'm led to believe that they spike the ground quite a lot and quite regularly. They're really good. I don't think, and from the comments that you see from ex-Rambling Man people, that even when it's taken a severe beating, it doesn't really get that muddy. The worst thing we've had was we did an event the week before, Maid of Stone, and the week before that was raining quite badly. So come the event, it dried up. But what happens is when the ground is soft, you get all the plant machinery, all the forklifts, and the cherry pickers and all that we use to build stages. That tears the ground up quite bad. So we did have to use a lot of straw and that sort of thing. But as a general rule, Knock Park is pretty good and can handle it. And obviously it helps when you don't have like 90,000 people like Download do that just trash anywhere where they walk. So I think we're pretty good at Knock Park for the foreseeable.
I think it's an ideal location as well because, as a punter, if it's pouring rain, I know it's not ideal for the equipment and stuff, but as a punter, you can always get down to Maid Stone, the centre. You can always get dried for an hour or half an hour, whatever you need. Places like Download, there is no shelter, is there? There's nothing, and I think that makes a difference. I think that's the advantage of Moat Park. It's so central.
Very true. Very true. I mean, it wouldn't have been a problem anyway, because apparently Ollie also travels with a full road crew just in case they need to be called upon as well.
Yeah.
You've seen it, Hannah, from both the front of house and backstage as well.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what works well? What could be done differently? The bands are all humans, aren't they? At the end of the day, so you know, how do they find it all?
Yeah, so I think because I've done this for quite a long time now, I actually know quite a lot of the bands already that are coming through. And if I don't know the bands, the chances that I know the crew are quite high. So they always know that what they're getting with me is, you know, they know what they're getting essentially. And I think it's really important to have that friendly vibe that the Maid of Stone brings backstage. Because my priority is always these people have been on the road for like maybe it's only been a couple of days, but maybe it's been months, and maybe it's been ages since they've seen their family and friends. And so, if you're just a happy, smiley face that's there to help, that makes all the difference. And that's just keeping them happy and keeping them calm and not asking questions like, "Are you nervous?" is just really important, because saying "Are you nervous?" to a musician just before they hit the stage is just not what you want to be doing.
Ollie's got that smile that says, "Oh, well, you asked me that question."
I get nervous.
Funny, Hannah, you said that, because I'm the same with compare and stuff. You get to know and if you don't know the acts, you have to. If you don't know, if you know them, it's easier, obviously. But if you don't know them, it's always slightly. You have to be slightly cautious, don't you? And people, you're hitting them right at their sensitive spot, at the most vulnerable. They're just about to, no matter who you are, or how long you've been going for, just before you go on that stage, it's a very vulnerable position, and you've got to be aware of that, you know. And I can't rate the bands high enough. Their professionalism all through the weekend was incredible. Even when it slightly went wrong on the Phoenix stage, the bands, everybody on that stage with a smile on their face, they dealt with the problem. Everyone was happy, and that's the key, isn't it? It's just working together and being a bit professional.
And I do need to apologise for that, because I literally just said to you, "Pete, can you just go and do 20 minutes of stand-up?" And you did, and it was great. But it was just like, there's a person waiting, they're all looking, let's just do something. And I kind of just threw you to the wolves a little bit. But, I mean, you took it and you dealt with it.
Well, do you know what? That's the thing. When you talk to the kids, the mic was working, they could tell the audience what was going on, and none of them left, because they kind of knew, well, you're doing this, you're not digging into their time. Can also say as well, big shout out, you know, when Rivers meet, they must have been slightly upset because the set got cut short. But when they came off stage, they were so thankful to their own team, our team, your team. It was just such a lovely atmosphere. They stayed longer at the merch stand to talk to the fans. And I just thought it was a fantastic touch, a nice touch. But yeah, that's what we do. I think when I was on that stage, it would have panicked me. If I'm on that stage and you see people, and we've all done it before, stressing around and shouting around, but everyone was just getting on with it. Getting stressed isn't going to make a difference, is it? You're just getting on with it. And yeah, it was fun. It was great. I get to show off for 20 minutes, so I was quite happy.
And again, it's that fight and flight response that you have to have in this industry, where you have to be quick at making decisions and just dealing with the issues that are presented to you. And the fact that you can just, there's not many people that I can turn to and say, you need to take over for 20 minutes and just deal with this crowd, that would just go, yep, okay, and just crack on. So yeah, that was
thank you. It was a nice, I always feel like I'm part of the crowd. I always feel like I'm a punter, so I kind of feel like I know them a bit better. But still, it was still, like, you know, it's a part of me that says, can you hurry up and get fixed, please? Obviously, but also as a part that I know, and I just felt bad for the band. But no, it was all done well, and I enjoyed what I saw of the band, and it was lovely.
At least there wasn't any time for anyone to go, "Are you nervous?" You just had to go and do it.
Do you know what? I get that. I do stand-up comedy. People go, this isn't easy. Also, band members say to me, "I don't know how you do stand-up comedy. It's horrible. I don't know how you do it." And you're thinking, "Thanks, mate." It's one step away. I don't know, if you get this, when I do Glasgow, everyone always says to me, "We're the friendliest city in the world." And I kind of think, just by saying that, you're not. If you really not helped.
Yeah, because the sentence that comes to that is contrary to popular rumour.
Yeah. If you can make us laugh, you can make anybody laugh. I really don't want to hear that, thanks.
I think asking you to do 20 minutes comedy, Pete, compared to what I asked you to do at the last show that you worked for me with,
I was horrendous.
was a miracle.
I was horrendous. I don't know I was horrendous, because it was Pre-Beauty Festival, and this sounds a bit arrogant. Maybe it wasn't my crowd. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. But I had no working mic, so they were getting really angry with me. and they were getting, and it was the headline act, wasn't it? So how long was it? An hour? Or just over an hour? And I was dancing, and I wasn't stripping, but I was very close to it.
You were very close to it. It was almost a Magic Mike moment.
And then there was some really, really angry people, and I was getting angry messages the next day. But the majority of people were fantastic, to be honest. But it was the case of, I couldn't, again, talking about that communication, I think once you can communicate to the crowd, and we couldn't communicate because I had no organ mics, but once you communicate to the crowd, the majority of the crowd then accept it and go, well, you've been honest. So yeah, it's fine, but please, never again.
Those angry people, though, Pete, you had one guy come up to you afterwards that realised he'd gone too far with what he was shouting at the stage, and he actually came up and apologised.
Yeah, he shouted at me personally. I went down at the end. I went down to talk to the individuals because I thought it was a nice thing to do. And all the youngsters were brilliant. And this guy came up and he was a bit ranty at me, and he walked off. And in fairness, he was a bit ranty at me. He came back and said, actually, do you know what? I was just really annoyed. I'm wet, I'm cold, I'm annoyed. Which is fair enough. Yeah, it was absolutely, yeah. And that's nice, isn't it? People are going to get frustrated. People do get frustrated. But unfortunately, I Maid of Stone, they all stayed and they all knew, and you could see the band were doing their best to get on, and it was just and again, without putting in sort of words, I think everyone realised it was a team effort, and we were all doing our best. And again, it's funny because I get all the credit and none of the blame. Well, I do get Rock and the Motor got a lot of blame, but you get the blame, but actually these guys who are patching it in, and and Hannah and Shell, they were working so hard. They just don't get any of the credit I do. I always kind of feel like it's quite nice doing what I do sometimes, because you take that flack, but you get all the credit. Well, actually, they were doing way more work than I was doing.
Hannah, you were going to chip in then, I think, as I rudely interrupted you as well.
Right. I was just going to tell Pete to learn how to be a mime, and then he doesn't need a microphone.
Do you know what? I went to years ago. This is a bit of a different story. I don't want to go off it, but I went to, my ex-wife went mental. I went to a mime class in Brixton, but it was just one guy in his flat, and he was charging a tenner an hour. It was fine. I learned quite a lot from him. But looking back at it, it was probably quite a stupid thing to do. Yeah, that was a different story for a different time.
That doesn't sound like a mime class, Pete.
It was genuine. It was actually worse if you think about it. It was a flat in Brixton, and it was two middle-aged guys. And if somebody looked in the window, they would have just saw us kind of doing this. But yeah, I was fine. I was safe, and he was genuine. I was just.
It sounds like a scene out of, like, With Nail and I or something.
It was, but yeah, it was good. It was interesting.
Chris, coming back to the actual festival and the bill itself, you'd made quite the effort this year to mix things up a little bit and throw in a few curveballs and just test the waters with different types of bands. I mean, you'd had Until 9, you got Seething Akira in as well, both of whom got great receptions on the stages. An interesting feedback on the groups, where you'd got a certain contingent would say, not my cup of tea, but the band went down really well. But that seemed to be the feedback even from those that weren't fans of some of these acts, where whilst I didn't like it, the stages were packed and people were bouncing. So you must have been happy with the mix in the end.
Yeah, I was. I would kind of add into that, though, that I think that our fans, I don't know if it's maybe because we're a newish festival, but they seem to be really respectful and really nice. And I've seen some forums on some other festivals, one that happened very recently, and their fans don't seem to be as, if there's something they don't like, they're shouting quite a lot of vitriol. It's not very nice to see. But our ones, just, even like you say, something they weren't interested in, they just scrolled on by. They don't even chirp in and say, "Not for me." Yeah, I mean, Seething Akira are one of those bands that I didn't know them. I'd seen them, and I guess if you just watch them on YouTube or whatever, you might think they might be a bunch of assholes, or just they give off that kind of vibe in their performance. But they are the nicest guys you will ever meet. All of them that I met, and they came in early. A couple of them camped in the camp Fanfield. Just really, really sweet guys, nicest guys. We spoke to them about swearing, because obviously their set is quite expletive heavy. And one of the downsides of being where we are residential is we do get complaints from people sitting in their garden, listening to bands swear. And they were like, "Yep, not a problem, Chris. How much do you want me to turn it down? Can we have one or two? I'll cut the whole lot." They were so just amenable to the whole thing, and they went down well. They definitely caught a crowd, and it's definitely helped me going forwards. Now the balance trick to that is to try and keep everyone happy with keep adding a few curveballs. I'm not going to take it a full direction of curveballs, but it definitely frees me up, I think, to who I can kind of bring in and I mean, until now I'm a big fan of those guys. People accuse me of the only band that I actually fangirl over, but again, solid guys, love their sound, and they're finding their audience. I watched them at Cold Wild. They're finding their audience in the rock crowd, if you will. So there are definitely some people within that crowd like me that are a little bit more kind of open-minded to heavier sounds or more modern sounds, if you will. But I've got to try and keep everyone happy, which is always the issue. So, what direction will the festival go in? I don't think it will go any majorly different to what it is now. I think we're always going to have it's a rock festival at the end of the day. It's always going to be rock, hard rock, melodic rock, soft rock, whatever you want to call it, heavy rock. And I'll always have some blues rock, a little bit of southern if it's possible to get southern bands in, and definitely some metal, not going too crazy, and it's not going to become Bloodstock, mini Bloodstock. But those, I personally like all of those sounds, and there are definitely people out there coming who are similar. So,
you know what? It was just you said that because I know people watching World 16 who I love, but they're not everyone's cup of tea, of course. And what you said before, the crowd. I know so many people said to me, "We caught World 16. Wow, blew me away." Or it's not my thing, so we went and watched Jared or whatever. And that was it. It was the kindness, and it was the respect, and it was fantastic. I know these guys had a great time. I spent the next morning with them, and they were just saying what a lovely crowd it was. And this is it, isn't it? It's a family, and they always think about these festivals. And I think some people talk about things is getting too big, worry it's getting too big, because I think a lot download is big now, and a lot of people with that family side's gone. I'm gonna say family. I think you walked around Maid of Stone, and everyone says hi to each other. Some people come on their own, and no one leaves on their own. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these, and I think that you've got that. I was just right this weekend. I thought it was just a lovely vibe of respect and happiness, and a lot of beer, which helps.
It is, and the thing with capacity is, it will never ever go to download, even if it's successful over the next 20 years, because of the location that it's in. I mean, I think the most that anyone's ever put into Moat Park is 25,000, and I can't even imagine that with regards to even the approach roads leading up to it. So I think Rambling Man topped out at 10 or 11, and which is more than twice what we're doing. So we've got a long way to get there, but I don't ever see it being bigger than that. I like small festival vibe. I like the fact that more and more people are coming to us saying, I don't want to do download, or I'm too old for download, or whatever. And they are starting to find these more kind of boutique festivals, especially when festivals like Download have made a conscious decision not to put rock, classic rock, or anything that I guess you would kind of consider as modern rock, like a 2000 Trees Saturn rock sound, if you will. There are festivals that are still looking out for that crowd, and people will find it and find their crowd and still come. So I'm really happy where it is. And again, I have to pinch myself sometimes that as a year two event, standing toe to toe with events that are way more established and have been established for 5, 6, 12, 13 years, or even more. I think we're doing a fairly good job, and a big part of that is the crowd. Such an awesome crowd, really, really nice.
But then I suppose it takes some credit, so for the niceness of the crowd. That's because you've done things that you didn't do the year before, and you've worked on them. So as a camper, the campsite was massively improved. So all the problems that you had the first year, it looks to me as a punter that you've listened and we've tried to fix them. And I think that's what makes the crowd happier and joyful. So actually, it is a lovely crowd, but that's because of your hard work as well.
It's always a trade-off, because I mean, any event can do through social media can do its market research. You can literally go to the crowd and say, what do you want, who do you want, and how do you want it? And if money allows, we can do that. But the trick is always identifying what the problems are, listening to what the problems are, and then trying to fix them, but just ensuring that it's because every single thing has a cost. And when you're not at 10,000 or even at 5,000, you're not selling out at 5,000. You do have to watch the pennies in some way. So there are a million things I'd love to do for the camper field and make it the most, the best camping experience going, but it's just not feasible without increasing camping tickets considerably. And we are very conscious of pricing, and it's a trade-off. But anything that could be fixed, it was easy to fix, that didn't push us into the red, if you would. We did, and we will continue to tweak.
You responded on that one last year, didn't you? When people had complained, for example, about the VIP experience, you dealt with that really quickly last year and said, okay, look, come next year, you can have your VIP upgrade included in your ticket price if you just buy a standard one. And then this year, the things that you'd wanted to do last year or hadn't been able to, you were able to do this year. The positioning was slightly different. And whether by luck, judgment, or whatever, the benches and the seating that you got in VIP gave those people a clear view of the two main stages, and they didn't even have to move, which is the true VIP experience of just let everything come to me, and there everybody was. It was perfect.
Ironically, I don't think the position actually moved that much. It may be a little bit closer to the main stage. One thing I've always tried to do, and I think it was installed in the first year in the sense that it wasn't explained, is that I like the VIP, for example, at Bloodstock, which is a completely separate area. It's like you can go to VIP, you can listen to DJs, you can drink some nice beer and cider, you can chill out, and it's like literally cut off from all the performances. And I prefer that, because the complete polar opposite of that is you do a VIP area where it's almost like a golden circle, and I don't like that, because I've never liked charging people more to get the best view of the best seats, if you will. It doesn't sit right with me. I know a lot of other people do it, and that's fair enough. So I'd rather say, look, you can come to VIP, but it's a VIP chill out area. It's completely separate, but we'll try and put some facilities in it to make it a place where you can kind of dip in and out of while you're enjoying the weekend. And with that in mind, I think it worked quite well. But this year, as you say, the way the two stages were and the fact that we shrunk the site a little bit, it just meant that, in certain areas you could, see the bands, and obviously with the two stages not clashing, which they did in the first year. So if you sat in VIP last year and trying to watch Main and suddenly Phoenix is kicking in, you've got that kind of problem. It did seem to work. So yeah, I think if we can, kind of keep that and just build and tweak on it, I think it's fine. I'd like to see more sort of exclusive little acoustic sets in there. I think that worked quite well. I think they went down quite well. So things like that, little improvements on goodie bags. Yeah, it's not, we're not offering gold-plated seating and or elevated platforms like our predecessor did, but it's I think it's worth it.
I thought the program, is that the word I'm looking for? I've got one here. Was an absolute great touch.
That's because it had PK Malley in it.
I didn't know what, my mates were really unhappy because my other mates bought VIP and they wanted the money back when they saw my stupid face in there, if I'm honest. But I like this. I think people like this. Not just because...
Downside to it was the centerfold, if you will, the center page. We did as an intention where you could get band signatures. And I think the idea was you would bring that to the signing tent, which didn't happen, and I'll go into that in a second. And you could get your signatures, and I don't think a lot of people used it. But it was nice that a lot of bands sold their own merch and came out and were signing things. So I did think, that did get used to an extent. And before I hand over to Hannah, I will just say, the reason there was no signing tent this year is there was a signing tent. It was then taken over by the press because we forgot to house the press in the craziness of the week's build-up. But the reason it didn't happen,
we were grateful, honestly.
Well, absolutely. Next year, I'll try and make sure you get your own tent. But to be completely honest with everyone, the advancing this year of the show was so crazy and so last minute. And by that, if you don't understand the term, we say advancing the show is when we start speaking to bands or tour managers, and they speak to our production managers and tech teams, and we kind of make sure the show starts to happen, so we know who's coming in, what time they're coming in, what they need from us, what we need to do, dressing rooms, etc. It was just so last minute through a lot of things. There was a lot of delays on our end. There are a lot of bands who were literally changing tour managers up until the last few days. That I didn't find myself in a position with a lot of bands where I could really say, can you come and do a signing? Because, even 3 days out, we hadn't seen the tech riders, or, there were a lot of issues that needed resolving before I started tapping bands up for signing. I had 2 confirmed for the Saturday, which was Wayward Sons and Wolf Mother. And the Saturday was just so hectic that I think blessing Toby Judge to come down to do the signing. And I said, Toby, I'm so sorry. I've not had time to actually advertise this to anyone. So probably best, I don't want to waste your time. It's probably best we just leave it. And by then, obviously, the Sunday hadn't happened. So no signing tent this year. Will we do it next year? Yes, I will try my hardest. But I think the fact that having the bands coming out to do their merch kind of covered a little bit of that. And I know there was disappointment, there was no signing tent, but I'm pleased that bands were still able to kind of meet the fans and do their thing. Hannah, please.
I was just going to touch on the fact that with a smaller capacity and the VIP area, you tend to have a bit more of like assistance for an accessible crowd. So the crowd that is in the rock scene at the moment predominantly are people that have always been in the rock scene, and with that come certain accessibility needs that need to be met. And I think, closing the capacity down to a small festival is much more friendly for that sort of thing, as well as family friendly, and having the VIP area easily accessible for people to have a sit down, to have a little bit of a break, is much more appreciated by this sort of crowd than perhaps is anywhere else due to that. So yeah, it's kind of a point from a while ago now, but
Access team that came in were purely volunteers and all connected with ERB, Emerging Rock Bands, and those guys were amazing. I've seen so many videos of them interacting with the crowd and just helping, just being there, being nice. Any problems that people had with accessibility issues, they were able to deal with. And I want to thank those guys so much because they were superstars.
It's a really important criteria that is often overlooked, I think, and making sure that everyone has as much of an enjoyable experience as everyone else is top in the priority list, and I think that was done really well. And like I said, the fact that the VIP was in the middle meant that if people did have a VIP pass as well, which a lot of the accessible customers probably do, because I know quite a few of them, it meant that they didn't have to move if they didn't want to. They could just sit and be comfortable all day. They had drinks and they had full view of everything. And I don't really think that there's much more that could be asked of that.
Yeah, I think on the Phoenix stage, it was interesting, isn't it? Because the accessibility bit's right at the front. And I think a lot of people, and Hannah said the same, sometimes I think people feel like, oh, we're in a wheelchair, so on crutches, we're gonna tick in the box and get put somewhere. But actually, they were right front centre. Everyone looked after them. I spoke to them. I came out that way and I spoke to them, and they all were really happy in the Phoenix stage. And they were remembered. I think that's the key, is they were remembered. It wasn't a tick in the box, and that was huge. You're absolutely right.
And the site itself is, easy enough to get around because of its compact size. And so the fact that you only have to go up and down one little area to get to to get to all 3 stages, it just makes it so much easier for people that do have needs that need to be met.
So on that thing, any people who are watching this and in the group before the festival, it used to make me giggle. So many people messaged and said, "Have you got a site map?" And the answer is, you don't really need a site map. So hopefully next year, we won't have messages saying, "Have you got a site map?" Because unless you're Papa Smurf, you don't need a site map.
It's not really needed. I understand.
I understand completely with getting there. If you've not been there, but now hopefully you've been there before. We can now see it.
Some people have anxieties with things and they want to know exactly what they're walking into. And to be honest, from my years at Download, I always got excited when the site map came out. Where is everything? But yeah, you don't really need it with us.
How excited were you with the site map, Chris?
What, for download or for us?
No, the general sitemap. Was it general sitemaps or just download? I've never seen you so animated talking about a sitemap.
I do get quite excited when I see our sitemap that Luke, the owner, puts together, because then I, want to see that hopefully it matches up with everything that I've been advertising for the last 6 months. There's nothing worse when I say, yeah, we'll do this, this, and this, and the sitemap comes and it's like, where is this? Where's this going?
I think the only thing that sitemaps sort of lack at the moment is, like, there's always traders booked well in advance, and no one seems to put traders where they're going to be on their sitemaps. And I think that would be like a really helpful tool for people that know they want to see certain traders, and not have to trek for, like, we had people at Download couldn't find us and that sort of thing. And obviously I know with Download that things have to change because there's so many traders. But with a site this small, perhaps it would be something that would be quite helpful to people to just be like, oh, yeah, that's where they're going to be. That's my first stop. Or, I know I can find that there. And same with like water taps and that sort of thing. You know exactly where you're going.
And I would say a sitemap that says, throw the axe here.
Why are you pointing down?
Because on my screen I'm pointing at Adrian. I don't know why. I think Adrian and axes. It's after that late night video he sent me.
Just because you beat Mr. Anthony and you're gonna live on that for the next 12
Can
months,
I be honest with you? Right? I did beat Mr. Anthony at the whatever it was called, Axe Off. That sounds so wrong. But when I say beating him, it was kind of like when I say beating, he was rubbish and I was just slightly less rubbish. None of us were proud of none of us are winners in this case. I was really nervous because I was throwing a big axe and Paul was in. I'm thinking his boots cost more than all my belongings in the whole world. Right? And I thought, I wish I was joking here. And I thought, if I scrape a boot, I'm a dead man. But anyway, I didn't, and it was quite. I'm sure Paul will say it was quite pathetic on both counts. Everyone was very polite and nice, but I think they both looked at us. We were like the two last people on the bench.
This is definitely going to become a regular thing, and not only that, I want to get involved. So I want to do an axe off with someone next year, and then the winner will fight the winner of you and Paul.
Do you know what? I was going to do it with Jared J. Nichols, but he just crushed the axe with one hand.
We went years ago with Steve from Massive Wagons, and I was the worst. They put us with like a big group of people that we didn't know, and I was really like in my head about it, like, I'm so bad at throwing this axe. This is so embarrassing. He goes and wins the whole thing, and he's wearing a big Viking hat.
You're on next year, mate.
Right, that's it, Ollie. Me and you.
Yeah.
Double axe.
For it.
It can do it behind him. It's irritating.
You watch, Chris. They'll turn up next year. They'll have a set of custom-made silver beak axes.
Have like little
just
holsters
conveniently
as well.
also fail. Yes.
Can I just point out on this, people watching, like, I didn't realise until Sunday, this was free to the punters, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, I think it was amazing. The guys who won it were brilliant, like, absolutely brilliant. That was a great thing. And I think a lot of people were, I wouldn't mind going at that, but they weren't quite sure. And I think maybe next time we'll announce it as free. I don't know if that was done or not, but I just think it was such a fantastic thing because just even for photo opportunity, people loved it. And it was I couldn't believe when I didn't know it was costing anything. Just a great thing. Throwing an axe. Who would have thought throwing an axe made me so happy?
Drunk people in a field. But like, I always
and made Paul so sad.
When we did it, I don't know if you're the same, but you get those like thoughts in your head when you go bowling and you throw the ball behind you by mistake. What happens if I just drop the axe and I like cut my foot off or something? And these intrusive thoughts just go wild.
All I was thinking was, and the guy was like, yeah, just do this. I'm like, you don't know how clumsy and stupid I am and rubbish in sport, right? And I remember at one point, it was like myself and Paul throwing them together. And I thought, I can't kill Paul Anthony. One, Chris won't be too happy. I might get the main stage, it'll be quite nice. But I thought to myself, this is not going to go well. And these thoughts were going in my head. Mm-hmm. And I must admit, I loved it. But when we finished it, I was kind of glad.
But it is a little touch, things like that, Chris, where There was no charge for that. People will have walked past that expecting to pay
Fortune.
£5 or £6 for 3 axes or something because they're your typical festival attractions. But the fact that it was just there, you guys had obviously covered the cost of them being there and whatever, and it was just turn up, put your name down, have a go. Little things like that, you don't get that at bigger festivals where everything has got cash associated with it because they've all paid a fortune for a pitch and they've got to get the money back, haven't they?
I think Pete's right. I think in the first year we did make a big thing about it being free, and then probably stupidly just assumed that, we told everyone last year, so they'll remember this year, not taking into account that we had a lot of new people coming this year. So yes, I will definitely make it, and I definitely want those guys back.
They're great, and they're such a lovely family as well. Such a lovely family.
Mm-hmm. Especially now they do. Last year they brought soft archery for the kids to do. And now they've got little kids' axes, which is the best thing ever. So yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I get asked to do it again, I'm going to choose that instead.
Kids, yeah.
Really cool. I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to look embarrassing, but I'm thinking, and this is on the Sunday. If that was on the Saturday, I would have said to Paul, "Let's sneak in here tomorrow morning. Let's go this wee one." Yeah, it was great, and it was just a nice buzz. And the kid was walking around using the guitar music. He was watching Dead Man's Whiskey and stuff. Oh, it's seeing the kid. Oh, it was just brilliant. It was fantastic.
Chris, with all of this in mind, any thoughts that you'd want to share with us for 2025, other than more of the same?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've kind of set the direction. There will be changes. We are talking about a few things. That's one of the reasons why we haven't run the tickets out yet, is because we've always been a big fan of communications. If things are going to change, I want people to know before they spend their money. So there is talk of changing a few things, which might kind of change the way that it looks, but won't change the way that it feels. And I won't go too far into it. We haven't really confirmed anything yet, but yeah, I mean, it's just like we said before with everything else. It's just improving and tweaking. The bands that I wasn't able to get this year or the first year, I'll still be looking at. So I could read off a list of names, but you most likely know who they are. And any big band or big band in the kind of rock world is obviously on our radar. And if there's ever the chance of getting potentially arena level bands through whatever way of negotiating and good luck that we can, we'll always try and do that. I'd always like there to be a mix and alternative now. So if we've got a blues rock act on one stage, I'd like a heavy rock or a metal band on the other stage. I want to try and keep that kind of. I haven't always managed to do that. This year my plan with the Phoenix was to have it heavier and bluesier, depending on where you go. But it just didn't work out like that because, for whatever reason, I ended up with Wagons on there because I wanted Wagons and Wagons wanted to play, and we just didn't have a slot for them apart from that one under Larkin Poe, which they were very keen to do. And they weren't the kind of band that I wanted for Phoenix. They would have been much better on main. But it's the way the cookie crumbles. Unfortunately, you get some of the bands you get them where you want them, and others not so much. But always offer an alternative, improve where we can. There are things that I'd love to do. Like it saddens me in a way that everything has to shut down at 10:30 because I know a lot of the older crowd are quite happy with that, but there are people that don't. They want the party to continue, and we have no ability to do after hours because of strict license conditions, being in a residential park. Could we organise something in town as like an after party potentially? I have to admit, from a selfish point of view, I'm usually that destroyed come 11 o'clock on a festival day that even the idea of going partying or organising a party is just beyond me. That doesn't mean I can't get someone else to do it for those that want to. But yeah, I'd like to do more stuff in a campsite. I'd like to open earlier on a Friday. I think Friday will become more of a day in the future. It's kind of gone from the first year of being like a campsite party opening night. Really, I want it to become almost a full day because people are coming into the site at 11 a.m. We're not open until 5. That doesn't make any sense to me. And it's getting out of that mentality of, well, people go to work or finish work early and then come. they don't. They take the entire day off and they come for the weekend, because that's what rock and metal fans do. This is a holiday for them. It was always the same with me. I would either go abroad or I'd go to download, and 9 times out of 10 I'd go to download, take the entire week off.
And if they can't take the whole day off, they will come later.
I did. I got there at 11 o'clock. I camped my tent up as soon as I could. Then we went down to Boozer. Now, that was fine. It was lovely. But what I'd rather do is go, right, okay, well, let's stay on site. Because it's like when I was a wee kid, we used to go on holiday to Picklockery, and all the same families went every year, like the Bernardo kids and stuff. No, not family. But you saw the same faces every year. And that's what festivals are now. You see the same faces, don't you? So you want to spend time with the people, and ideally in the same place. So you're absolutely right. On that one, can I point out, big hats off to you for the showers and the campsite. They were spot on.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
It's always difficult with those showers because they're either perfect or there's an issue with the gas and they just trickle out cold water.
Every single person came out clean and said, "Oh my God, what a great shower." I'm not joking. They were brilliant.
Thank you. And again, it's something that I've been to festivals that charge for showers. It's like, who charges for a shower? How can you do that to people who are camping with you? It's just beyond.
Well, I remember Download. The last time I went Download, I went. It was pouring rain. I've been for 3 years, I think, and I went there. I trudged like a mile to get a shower, and you come out muddier than you are because little things like the showers have got the hooks. Your showers have got these hooks. It's such a small thing, but actually it makes a difference because nobody at a certain age wants to go and wash their bits and Witherspoons. It's just not on. So absolutely, good job. Didn't stop me.
You mean in the sink in Wetherspoons? Please don't tell me you use the sink.
What's that? No. I use the shower because your showers are so great. I use the sink. Yeah. I use the sink to go for a poo, but not to wash. That's disgusting.
Okay.
I've got visions of you using the Dyson air dryer now,
Mate.
in Wetherspoons for the wrong reason.
As a potential death trap.
I've got an image of Pete standing on some kind of step with his junk in a sink in Wetherspoons, and I'm just never going to Wetherspoons ever again.
No, I'm a very civilized person, I think you find, and I washed in the showers at your amazing campsite, and then I went to Wetherspoons for a joggy and a fry up, like everyone else did.
Pete has this natural way of sort of telling us when to wrap up, and it's usually when we get onto bodily functions and something just as gross. So, I mean, is there anything else that anyone would like to kind of talk about the weekend?
The one question you are getting constantly, and I appreciate it's while you sort out what's going to be in place next year, so you can then talk about early bird tickets and whatever. Do you have a sense as to when that likely will be concluded so that people know, we'll probably be doing early birds sometime mid-August, end of August, something like that? Or do you have an idea?
Yes, I do. Bearing in mind we're recording this on Monday, I probably won't have it out to Wednesday, potentially Friday. I'd like to think the early birds will be close. The absolute truth is the owner has just done a very big show this weekend at Moat Park. I wasn't as involved in that, and I need to sit with him and talk about things like I said that we want to kind of be clear on before we offer the tickets. But he's been unreachable for the last few days, as you can imagine. So once we've done that, the early birds will go. We won't be doing super early birds like we did last year, but the early birds will go out. They'll be obviously cheaper than the main tickets because we haven't released any names, and anybody who wants to do that could get them. And then it'll just be the usual business of, getting our first announcement together before we go out with the finals. But we'll be very, very transparent when the tickets are coming out, what the pricing is, how many are available, and then people grab them. I am pleased, and I do thank everyone for wanting to give us their money. It sounds crazy to me. I'm in marketing, and when people want to give you money as a marketer, I'm thinking, why the hell are we not just taking people's money? But, I appreciate people wanting to, but we want to be clear with what we're offering before we go out. So very soon.
I mean, if people are so really desperate to spend their money, they can come and spend it on our store. We welcome that.
Hannah, where do people find you guys online? What's the address?
It's lunaluxdesign.co.uk and blackfeatherdesign.co.uk. Just a quick little one.
There we go. The important things that we need to get out there on this particular podcast is what you guys are doing and how they find you. So thank you.
I will say as a trader, Chris, it was incredible. I think the whole vibe when having people come to the stall, even just to chat, even not to buy, like everyone's just so grateful for the atmosphere that the whole site has. Like we trade at a lot of festivals now, and I've done a lot over the last few years, and you really have created something special that, like saying like the free acts phone, just those little things that don't make you feel like when you're on the festival grounds you're being rinsed with loads of extra charges for everything. Like I think you've really created something that I think everyone's really just craving to feel like they're part of a community and part of a festival, rather than feeling like they're paying everything they have to just be in the festival. And to experience that as a trader and see all these people and feel the energy, we're trading from beginning till the very end. You're seeing all these personalities throughout the whole thing. I think you should be, you and the whole team should be incredibly proud. It's really quite a special, because some of them could be a bit of a slog. It's really quite a special festival to be part of, just as a trader alone. I absolutely love it.
Thank you, Ollie. That means a lot. I just realised my screen is getting darker and darker because I didn't put the lights on. So anyone's watching this on YouTube,
you look like you're coming out of your tent.
or for those that remember it, Holly from Red Dwarf.
Can I just also say, and how good were Wolfmother, by the way? Cause I've never seen Wolfmother, and it's, again, what made I think this weekend special is because you saw bands that I love. Something Living Colour, my favourite band in the world, but see them quite often. But Wolfmother I've not had a chance to see, and I was absolutely, and I don't know what the viewers think. I was absolutely dumbstruck by them. I thought they were incredible.
Yeah, I didn't get to see them. I was so upset, but I could hear them, and I was so jealous of everyone that was down there and seeing it because it sounded amazing. And they were so nice. They were so nice.
It was so, I know it's not, but it looks so effortless.
Yeah.
Wow. It was pure art, I thought. Not as good as Ollie Brown and the Dead Collective, obviously, but it was good.
They just turned up, didn't they? What, half an hour before they went on stage? No sound check, no nothing. Stripped backstage set. The only thing that gave them any depth was the fact that the drum was on a slight riser, and they just plugged in and played. I mean, that's kind of how it should be. I mean, Ollie, I'm sure you've done that before now when you're jamming or playing or whatever. But to see it for a headliner, you expect everything to be switched on for the headliner. And it just didn't need to be. They just plugged in and got on with it, and the reception was fantastic. People going, his voice does sound a little bit like Robert Plant's, and then of course they finished with a Led Zeppelin cover, so that just proved the point at the end of it. But yeah, it was brilliant, very, very good.
It was the easiest show that we've ever had to advance. There was only the slight worry that, again, because they were flying, it was that issue on the Friday, Saturday. But when I knew they were in the country, it was just great. There was, they didn't want anything, demand anything. They just literally rocked up, said, look, got our instruments, they got the back line, we're going on, they did it. It was Andrew's birthday. We knew in advance. We actually prepared a lovely cake for him, which I think you shared, Adrian, which was a great moment. And they were just, again, I think I've mentioned before, there was a few things in the Facebook groups. Again, it's a bit of an echo chamber where people were saying, yeah, Crows should have headlined, well, good luck to Wolfmother, because obviously once you walk from Crows, people aren't going to stay. People did stay. Not only that, I was actually backstage when they came off. And they finished a little bit earlier. Absolute professionals, weren't going to run over. They went straight down the ramp. They were not expecting at all to do an encore. And Andrew got to the bottom of the ramp and he just stopped. He listened to the crowd shouting and just turned around and said, right, and just grabbed the two straight back on. Again, ripped through the cover in a couple of minutes, off before their time. Just professionals.
Yeah. They were great. I loved it. I was near the front for the whole gig, and they was astonished me. I thought they were absolutely headliner material, top drawer, beyond head. I thought they were brilliant. I just want to say I had a fantastic weekend. It's always an interesting one for me because I've been going to Moat Park there since the start, and for me, I went as a punter last year. If I'm not working it next year, I'll still be a punter. That doesn't change. I had a great weekend, and the music is massively important for me. But actually, it's the people and the place. So, you four, and everybody else around, thank you for making it just a dead nice place. I missed it. I think everyone.
It's all free, isn't it?
It's
the people, the place, and the music.
Yeah, do you know what else I noticed? Sorry, I'm rambling that. On the next day, a lot of people put on Facebook and socials, "Oh, we're having withdrawal symptoms," which is a really good sign. So yeah, and that's just a great atmosphere. Lovely. Never been so happy in Kent in my life. I can honestly say that.
Few people have. Yes. On that note, Chris, any last words?
Nope.
Before you fade into the background, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting worse, isn't it? Just want to thank everyone for coming to the show this year. Anybody who's commented, liked everything that we do, giving feedback, always appreciated. You know where we are. There are multiple Facebook groups that I'm part of or run, so you can always find us. And I look forward to hopefully doing an amazing 2025.
And the last thing, which I think probably is worth just signing off in, Chris, tell us the dates next year.
Oh my God, 18th to 20th.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks, Pete.
20th of July, 2025.
Pete pulls out his emergency program, but I wrote the dates on the back. There you go.
Go pay your electricity bill now, Chris.
Go put £1 in the meter. Right, guys. Thank you so much, all of you, as always.
Always good to see you all. Take care.
See you on the next one.
Take care.
See ya.